September, and the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show is presented to you as it is every week, brought to you in part by the Hillsboro Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. This week on the program, some football and volleyball talk. We'll talk with Tommy Butler of the Central Cass Squirrels, as Central Cass won a wild one up in Langdon over the weekend. The number 2 team in Division A will host Northern Cass on Friday night on YourLiveEvent.com in Castleton. Also, the number 1 team in the state in North Dakota in 9-man football. That is LaMoure-Litchville Marion. The Lobos off to a 2-0 start. They head to Hope, North Dakota for a date with Maple River. We'll hear from Lobos head coach Andy DelaBarre in their upcoming matchup with the Raiders on Your Live Event on Friday as well. And we continue that same conversation. Polk County West will host Mahnomen-Waban on Friday night in Climax. We'll hear from Thunderhead football coach of Polk County West coming up a little bit later on in the program. Then we turn our attention to the volleyball court. It was a season opening flurry for a handful of Class B teams last night in the state. The Grafton Spoilers picked up a sweep down in Kindred. We'll hear from Nicole Warren from the Spoilers picking up the win. Also, the Carrington Cardinals picked up a victory over Harvey-Wells County, and Hillsboro-Central Valley able to stymie the Oak Grove Grovers in 4. We'll hear from Katie Staebler coming up around the corner as well for Borough Volleyball. Then our senior spotlight, a couple of Borough Volleyball players with Miss Smelden and Miss Kittelson here coming up a little bit later on in the program. Again, this is the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Let's get right into it with the head coach of the Central Cass Squirrels. Joining us now from the Central Cass Squirrels, he is the head football coach. That is Tommy Butler joining us. Opening season win at home against Devils Lake. They followed it up this past weekend going to Langdon. Crazy victory there for the Central Cass Squirrels. We'll get to that in a moment. But Tommy, 2-0 to open up the year. Now you got region play. Friday night you got the Northern Cass Jakes coming to town in Castleton on Your Live Event. Then you have Lisbon and Kindred. Both those games will be on YLE as well. Just take us through, though. Fall camp, 2 games in, 2-0. What do you like most about this version of the Squirrels here, Tommy?
Man, I would definitely say this team is a gritty team. These first 2 wins have been wild, to say the least. That first game was over 3 hours long. A lot of plays, a lot of cramps. Competing against a big physical team in Devils Lake, who's a division above us. But watching our kids compete. We get up by a couple scores, they make a comeback, and just never being like, we just never wavered. We never gave in to them. Again, people would normally see that, again, we've had in the years past where, something like that happens and now it's, oh man, we can't win. Oh geez, here we go again, right? That old adage. But I feel like this team is completely different, and again, in that opening game, they're going to pack the box. They're going to put 9 guys in there, and we instead of hitting your head on a door here, we're gonna spread it out. And Brody Kegley ends up going for I think 338 in the school record for passing yards in a game. And getting the ball out to our receivers, which we got a ton of them that are athletic, that are fast, that can make guys miss. So that was a big win. And then going to Langdon, getting the revenge of a year ago. And again, that game could have been wildly different in both directions. We were a couple plays away from absolutely blowing them out, and then we were a couple plays away from blowing a massive lead. And in the Devils Lake game, it's our defense that shuts the door. Grady Link gets an interception to end the game. And then in this last game, we go for a fake punt. And then Brody hits Cale Pearson on a 3rd and 5 to kind of ice the ball game. So, we've had some big plays offensively, defensively. Cale returns a kick for a touchdown against Langdon. So we've seen all 3 phases of our team do something awesome. So I love where we're at. We have a lot of room to grow, but the first 2 games are exactly what you need. You need to be tested. You need to see where your team's at. And to me, this group is I think I got a special group this year.
And looking at the first couple weeks, some teams have played 1 game, some teams have played 2 games, but Region 1, 12-2 overall in the opening 2 weeks here, Tommy. Iron sharpens iron coming up this year in Region 1. We talked about it, I know, between you and I earlier in the summer, saying the depth of what Region 1 could be. It's kind of showed when you get a EEK beating Shiloh, Kindred beats a Velva, you guys beat a Langdon. There's a couple of wins against 2A competition as well. So how difficult is this Region 1 stretch going to be starting Friday night with Northern Cats, Lisbon, and Kindred, as we alluded to, for your first 3 games in region play?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be crazy. I mean, the depth of this division is really, really good. Every team that you play has at least one stud on their team. There isn't a game that you're walking in going, man, we're gonna win by 50. Get your JVs ready. That type of look. So that's fun. I think that's really fun. That's fun as a coordinator, as a head coach, that you got to scheme, you got to get your kids prepared, because if you don't, you know that you can literally get beat by any team in our region. So I like that. I like that aspect of it. But like you said, getting to see the rest of the region go out in these first couple of weeks and show how good our region is, and so that winner, those top 3 teams out of our region, I think have a real shot to make a deep run in the playoffs. So it's going to be fun here these next 7 weeks coming down the stretch here.
We'll talk a little bit about some of the players so far for your club this year, Tommy, but something that you and I were chatting about before the conversation was going to look a little different this year in the playoffs. And I think it's a good different, because I know in previous years you'll hear from fans, gosh, there's a lot of Eastern flavor and you got to go up against Region 2. And there's been really good teams in Region 2. There's not that crossover till the semis or maybe the Dakota Bowl. This year going to be a little bit different, seeing that not just 1 through 4, but 1 through 8. How does that change stuff, if at all, from a team perspective and from a coach's perspective, knowing that, hey, you don't have to win the region to get seeded going into the playoffs, moving into October and November later in the year, if you're fortunate enough to get there?
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. We've talked about this every year in our coaches meeting at the end of the year, as why are we getting these legitimate semifinal potential state championship games in the first 2 rounds? If we're trying to have the best of the best play each other, then the old model is not the way we want it to be. And so I'm glad that we changed that around. I think that gives a region like ours a real shot to again, you're not getting these teams bounced so early. Obviously, again, we're only 2 weeks in, but I think if it continues the way that we're going, I mean, we might have a shot to get, like I said, 3, maybe even 4 teams into that quarterfinals matchup. Like I think there's a legit shot that we could get that. And then again, you never know, right? I mean, the playoffs are the wildest times of the year. You get teams that catch a hot streak at the end, and those are the teams that you do not want to play. So, for us, it's 1 week at a time, but we know what our end goal is. Our goal is to play and win a state championship. Like that is absolutely where our destination is. It's how do we get there? We got to navigate that. Obviously, we win every game throughout the region. I really think that we have a chance to be the number 1 seed. Obviously, that's really hard to do in our region, but that's the goal, and you got to do that week in and week out. But if you get that, you should hopefully, right, get the easier seed or the easier path to that championship. But we did it 2 years ago where we're the 3 seed out of our region, and we make an unbelievable run, and we're 1 yard away from being state champs. So we're okay if that's the way we got to do it, but our goal is the same as every year. We are 100% playing for a state championship and trying to win one. That is absolutely what we're gunning for. So our practices have to be that way. Our meetings have to be that way. Everything is trying to get yourself prepared for that moment. And again, I think this team has that mindset. I think we from the top down have really preached that, and I think we got leadership that is pushing us in that direction.
Go over a senior leader for you, Jake Thompson. Just kind of what does he provide on and off the field this year for this version of Central Cass football?
Yeah, one of our 4 captains. Just a stud on the field, off the field. Has kind of lit it up offensively right now. He's got He's gotten, I think, 3 touchdowns, almost gone for 200 yards in the first 2 games. He's got 2 picks on the season, almost had his 3rd against Langdon. So, he kind of does a lot for us. Great communicator defensively, gets us in and out of checks. But again, it's the leadership part that I love the most, right? It's that aspect, right? It's the Drew Urbach, who's another captain who's coming off an ACL surgery that is, he's maybe not as vocal as Jake is, but his work ethic. He went from being 130 pounds last year, tears his ACL, to now he's 160 pounds, yoked up a little bit. So the work ethic's crazy, right? Then you got guys like, Aiden Wunderlich, who was, as a freshman, was one of our worst JV linemen, to now getting, legitimate, has gotten an offer from UND on the table. Evan Wiersma, who's an absolute dude. Again, like, all those guys are work ethic guys, but now we're taking that vocal leadership and again, that's the thing that we've missed in years past is the leader that will not allow that type of stuff, right? Like, working hard is one thing, but who's the guy that's going to galvanize? Who's the guy that's going to keep things together? When we throw a pick six on the goal line, when we have a bad snap, we have, we can't get off the field on 3rd and 4th down. Like, who are the guys that are going to keep us together? And to me, those guys have done a phenomenal job of that. And I think that's, that old adage, right? I mean, attitude reflects leadership, right? My boy from Remember the Titans. So, Julius Campbell. So I think that's where this team is, we are led by those captains, and led by our senior leadership, and they know what the expectation is. And we all want to get back to that, where we're playing for a state title. We want to get there badly. We know it's going to be hard, but that is the goal, and those guys have continued to show us the way there.
Someone who's an underclassman, but obviously when you step into the quarterback spot, the light is always on you, as you well know in the game of football, with the center quarterback going back and forth there. But with Brody Kailee, a sophomore, 2 games in here, what do you like most about Tommy's play so far on the football field? Brody's play, excuse me.
Yeah. Brody's a dude, man. I mean, he's a flat out dude. Like, he never gets too high. He never gets too low. He throws for a school record in the first game. Him and I have a miscommunication. I'm telling him to wait for a play. He thinks I'm saying something else. He throws a pick six, right? I bring him off the sideline. Of course, like, I'm mad at first. Like, I thought that you said this, and then, the realization of, dude's only 16. Like, did I get him prepared enough for that? No, like, that's not his fault. Like, we haven't went through that in game. Hey, I want you to wait. We need to run the clock down. Like, that's my fault. That's not his fault. Like, he throws a pick six because I'm the one that hasn't taught him what he needs to do there. So, but again, he doesn't freak out. He doesn't whine and cry. He goes back out, completes another absolute dime to Jake later on that, that moves the chains, that runs us down some more time. Like, like I said, he's as cool as they come. Very, very smart. He understands what we're trying to do offensively all the time. Asks good questions. His relationship with our offensive coordinator, Riley Iverson, is unbelievable. So those guys are always working things out. He's, like I said, he's great with questions. He's great with ideas. He's a good communicator. And now you're starting to see that little bit of moxie of, taking the leadership reins when it comes to getting guys set. Hey, you need to be with this alignment. You need to scoot in. You need to scoot out. You have to run this route here. All of that kind of stuff. Like, that's the growth that we're seeing from him. And, we call a fake punt at the end of the game. Again, like, you would think that you probably don't want a sophomore throwing the ball on 4th and 14 with 3 minutes left, on your own 30. And, I tell him, we're going to run it. He throws it like it's a regular pass, like, just the moxie that he plays with, but it's not this cocky, arrogant confidence. It's as cool, right? It's as cool as they come, man. So I love where he's at. I love his mentality, and I love the fact that he's always wanting to be better than what he was last week. So
Final thing for me, Tommy, what's a trait so far, 2 games in? You maybe have said it earlier, the resolve, making sure, you played 2 one-score games, have gone down to the fourth quarter. It's been 48 minutes of football, obviously, to get a couple of wins. But what's a trait that you've liked most about this football team this season?
I mean, it's going to sound lame. It's going to sound cliche. It's family, right? It's that, sometimes in a family, things don't go your way. There was a play where we had a miscommunication between Grady Link and Cale Pearson. They get a miscommunication, and it so reminded me of there's a clip against Georgia's playing. I think they're playing Alabama, and 2 of their linebackers run into each other, and I think it was N'Kobe Dean. It might have been, I can't remember who it was, but you see him, get a little animated, get a little frustrated with the guy. But there is no, like, they're not yelling at each other. This is the standard. This is the expectation. This is what we have to do. And, to me, that's one of the best things that I saw was, they get in this, hey, we cannot have that miscommunication. And, the other one responds with, yeah, you're right. You're right. Like that to me is the family, the love within each other of, I respect what you're saying, but I also respect you enough to tell you that you're wrong. But on the other side, I respect you enough to go, you are right. I don't need to be so selfish and say, no, it's you. We got guys that are willing to take that on. We've had a couple of guys that have gotten some penalties that have come back with, hey, I that is not my character. That's not the kind of guy I am. I apologize for, like, that's what family does, right? Like that's what leadership looks like. That's what, we talk about this all the time, being a husband and being a daddy, right? Like you're gonna suck at being a husband and a dad at times. Like you just are. But what do you do when you suck? Like, do you blame others? Or do you come back and say, it's my fault? I mean, I had a couple really horrendous calls as a D coordinator up in Langdon that end up getting some free runners. And, Caden Graber comes off the sideline and he's like, it's my fault. No, it's not. That's my fault. Like, I failed you. I put you in a bad spot. I cannot do that. Like, so that to me is what I love most about this team is there's so much accountability. There's so much love amongst each other that even when things do go bad, you don't have the freakouts. Now you have the, hey, let me take care of it. I told the kids on Friday when we left Langdon, I promise you, I will not fail you again like that. I can't. I just can't let them down that way. And every other kid is doing that same thing. Like, I make that mistake. I won't let that happen. I promise I can't do that to you. So that's what I love most about this team. And I think that's what gives us the shot is, I don't believe in toughness drills. I don't believe in, you just pound them into the ground and that's what's going to make them gritty. No, it isn't. Again, the people that I'm the toughest for, that I'm willing to just fight tooth and nail for, is my family. Nothing comes between that. And if you can play for somebody that way, man, you're a hard team to beat. So I think that's what this team has. And again, you got to prove it week in and week out. And we have a really, really tough schedule. But I think these first 2 games have really kind of shown like that is the type of character, that is the type of resolve that you must play with. Because we're going to need it for the next, again, hopefully the next 10 weeks, and potentially win a state title. So I love this team though, man. We're a fun group to be around too. Practice is hilarious. It's just a bunch of goofballs out there. And I'm the worst one. So,
well, Central Cast, you can check them out again Friday night, hosting Northern Cast. It's the Region 1 opener for both clubs between the Jags and the Squirrels. And then, as we alluded to before, every game will be on your live event for Central Cast football outside of the one game in Oaks throughout the rest of the regular season. Tommy, as always, appreciate your time. Best of luck, and we'll see you down the line sometime sooner rather than later.
I appreciate you, Chase. Go Squirrels, baby.
Treat yourself to a great career at American Crystal Sugar Company. Team up with quality people making quality products. Full-time and year-round in a stable business. With great pay and benefits including time off available from day one. American Crystal Sugar Company invests in you to promote your continued growth and career advancement. Grow your career doing your best work within the world's best beet sugar company. Apply online today at AmericanCrystalCareers.com.
Growers, prepare your fields and yields against the wet conditions for 2025 and beyond with a drain tile project from Chad's Excavating out of Mayville. Drain tiling will improve and increase your yields and land values for years to come. Chad's Excavating provides free, detailed estimates, and with over 40 years of combined success, they provide professional installation and service. Call Chad today to prepare for your future and any questions that you might have. That's Chad's Excavating out of Mayville, helping farmers grow.
We head to the 9-man set of things here in North Dakota. With us now from LaMoure-Litchville, Marion, he is Andy DelaBarre, part of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show here, head coach for the LaMoure-Litchville Marion Lobos. And Andy, you kind of get into September here. Always fun to talk high school football. It's crazy to think, another 6-7 weeks, it'll be postseason football already for 9-man. But let's just go through fall camp. Some of the guys coming into maybe new roles this year, starters you brought back. Let's just start with some guys coming in this season that you think after a 2-0 start can be capable of providing good years, whether it's offensively and defensively for the club this season here, Andy.
Yeah, no, I think every team has their one or two go-to guys, and certainly for us, Gunnar Thiel just is one of those. Just stat-wise this year, you can see how dynamic of a player he is. Was an all-state running back last year as a sophomore. He's a year older, a year stronger, a year faster, and that certainly makes coaching a lot easier. Another kid that's really been a difference maker even from the middle of last season until now is Owen Lesko, a senior, great leader, a great energy, high motor player. So I think that's another one that stands out. And offensively, with him being able to block but still be a downfield threat at tight end and kind of some fullback, running back positions for him, but also defensively, just being able to get around the field and a great tackler. Just a natural football player in general. So those two stand out. And then our quarterback too is a new one coming up, Mason Workin, only a sophomore, but is really starting to fit into that role. After each and every game. From week 1 to week 2, and just to see his growth there and just allowing him to kind of grow and mature on his own here too. I think that we sometimes try to coach kids and, form them in the way, but, I think he's one that will eventually, start getting more comfortable and make the right reads and just be a better ball player throughout the season.
And you mentioned Gunnar, 10 touchdowns so far through 2 games on Lesko, leading tackler double digits there, and working 6 touchdown passes. So a lot of productivity in the first 2 games. As you go into September here, Andy, what's something you want to see from your team in the first couple of games of the season that you want to continue to see improvement, or what's a trait so far of this club, I guess is a different way to ask it. What's a trait of this club that you like best so far 2 games into the year?
Well, I think being diversified defensively, it just being able to adjust to teams if they want to be heavy run, heavy pass, and just to adjust as to what teams give us, different from the prior week. Because as the season goes, it's always like kind of opening up a new book, right? And it's what kind of a theme is it? And so for us defensively, if we can still stay to our standard and play to to what we expect of our defense and what it takes to be successful, I think that's something that we're going to look to continue to build on. And then of course, offensively, I think our playbook will just expand as the year goes on, but not forgetting our fundamentals. Our pad level from week 1 to week 2 was much better, but it still can get better. Our angles of whether our blocking angles, our pass protection, even just like taking angles defensively and tackling and pursuing the football, so, there's always those things we're going to point out and look to improve on. But like I said earlier too, our standard has always been what we're focused on and how do we continue to raise that weekly after each and every game.
You look at nine-man football, and it's been crazy to see, not just across the state scene where college athletes have gone from high school to maybe the VCSUs, the Jamestowns of the world, NDSCS, but obviously Division I, and we're seeing guys even get noticed at a Power 5 or a Group of 5 level here, Andy. So what's the quality of play been like in nine-man football from what you've seen on, Friday nights from your perspective, whether it's guys you've coached, guys you've gone up against, or players that you hear from across the state? What does nine-man football kind of look like in today's 2024 version, just with the skill and the athletes that you see out on the football field?
Well, there's definitely talent. We see it every single week. There's a team that has a good athlete, and you can just see it on film. You can watch it. You talk to coaches, and then you hear about how they are off the field too, and you know that they're good kids that are potentially good collegiate athletes. And I think it takes a lot to compete at the college level, not just physically. There's a huge mental aspect to it too. Plus the drive to want to put in all that time. And if you got a few of those kids on your team in high school, and whether it's 9-man or 11-man, I think you're really going to have some success on Friday nights. And so, no, I think definitely across the state, you look at 9-man football. There are a few, if not double digits, that stand out as some pretty good athletes that potentially can play some pretty high level football at the next level.
For your squad, Andy, after last year, I know talking with you early in the season, there was a lot of different faces, maybe different positions, maybe guys who had opportunity to play Friday Night Lights before, but maybe didn't start or were in a different role. How was last year's run into the postseason, into some of the teams that you played, helping you so far this year with that experience back of some guys maybe being second-year starters or just getting that taste of what varsity football was last season going into this year, Andy?
That's a great point, because it's kind of like you climb a mountain and you get to a certain point where you just have to stop, and that was losing to New Rockford in the quarterfinals of last year. And I feel like when we came in this year, it wasn't like we started back at the bottom of the mountain. It was like, hey, we kind of put our checkpoint in, and that's where we started this season off. And I feel like it's just given us a bigger boost to reaching that peak, and knowing that we're just going to have to still again focus on what we can do to improve ourselves week in and week out. And so I feel like where we were a year ago now compared to today, it's leaps and bounds. We've got a lot of experience with a lot of those guys, and even the newer faces, what they did in practice and playing a lot of scout team for us. It's not all that different. So they've gone against some really good competition last year, and that's really helped improve and kind of have that next guy up mentality really help us excel.
You got a couple more non-region games before you get into region play this year, different than last year where it was 4 regions. This year you have 8, a lot of non-regional games before that backhand is really going to determine where the postseason lies for teams across the state of North Dakota. So how do you view these last couple of non-region games with Maple River hosting Mayport CG before you kind of get into that Region 1 swing with Tri-State, the Warbirds, Hankinson, Sargent County upcoming late in the season?
Well, great. It's a great lead up to our region. I feel like Region 1's always very competitive, and there's good football. And playing opponents like Maple River and Mayport CG these next 2 weeks are going to really help us prepare for that. But also, I think prepare for the long term too. Is seeing dynamic players like Maple River has, and seeing the type of team that Mayport is going to help us adjust ourselves and continue that climb, like I mentioned before, here to the playoff time. And so you always want really good competition. I look back to last year was a non-region game against North Prairie. It was a loss, but it was probably one of the key moments of our season, just as far as building our team and building our momentum going into the playoffs. So it's early. I hate to even talk about playoffs now, but really it really does help playing some really good competition like Maple River and Mayport CG.
The Lobos, you can check them out Friday night right here in Hope on yourliveevent.com. Also later in the season when they make the trek to Sargent County as well. Andy, as always, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck throughout the course of the season here, and looking forward to seeing you up in Hope on Friday night.
Yeah, thanks, Chase.
That again, Andy DelaBarre will continue on the Coaches Show after this.
live, work, and play here in Hillsboro, North Dakota. The Hillsboro Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsboro. More at 104.
We're joined by the head coach of the Polk County West Thunder. Darrin Byklum is joining us here for our Your Live Event Coaches Show. Darrin, nice to talk with you here as we got week number 1 done in the high school football season. Tough loss for you guys, but it sounded like as the game went on, you guys played better. Just kind of tell me a little bit about that game and how your guys played in it.
Well, just like we talked about earlier, that we spotted them, I believe, 22 in the first quarter, and then it was like a 12-14 game after that. But just too many miscues early on. We dug a hole, we couldn't get out of it, and fumble kick return, and our defense had them 3rd and long, 4th and long, and gave up a touchdown the next play. So just uncharacteristic things that we usually don't do, but we got some new guys out there that are getting their feet wet for the first time, and it showed. And but one nice thing is there's more than one game in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we talked, you're playing with a lot of younger kids this year. Like you said off air, first time in 11 years you haven't had a gap on the roster. So, some adjustments being made here.
There is, and it's we got to find a couple guys, those go-to guys that are just going to be the workhorses, and sometimes it's going to take some time. Those guys are pretty natural as far as putting their shoulders down and running people over. So takes a special person to do things like that. And we got a couple guys we're hoping will get to that, but with time will tell, and we'll see what happens. But it was always a nice trump card to have. I know that. So
absolutely. And I know, how did your kids respond after that loss? How's practice been now this week?
It's been okay. I mean, we're still learning. I mean, they understand that obviously what happened in the last 3 quarters, that we were right with that ball team, and take nothing away from West Central area. They're a good football team. They're going to win some games this year, and they had some experience, but the kids, they understood that, hey, we don't spot them those 20-some points, and it's a pretty close ball game.
So now you prepare for a Friday night matchup with Mahnomen-Waubun, and of course, let's face it, this has become a fun rivalry. It's always kind of fun to see what these two teams do against each other. It should be another fun matchup Friday night.
It should be. It's like always, we don't really have to prepare much for them. Yeah, right. So it'll be a battle, and it's going to come down to who makes few mistakes again, and what defense and both defenses, I have a feeling, are going to play pretty tough with the run, and they always do. And, so we'll see, but we can't have like last year, and we kicked off against them, had the kickoff run back. So little things like that are going to make a difference, and it's going to be another fun battle. And it's in Climax too, by the way, if it got switched over there, because the East Side's field had some work getting done, but it'll be fun. It always is. And they're well coached and ready to go. And we'll try to have our guys ready to roll also.
In kind of reviewing film, whatnot, what have you seen from this Mahnomen-Waubun team? Obviously, enough about them from playing them in the past, but what are the big keys to taking away from them?
Well, you got to take what they do good, and that's the run game, but you're going to have to pick your poison on that. Do you want to stop the midline, or you want to stop the outside veers? So, it all depends on kids doing their keys. It's, not everyone runs the option, and, so they all have to be on the same page, and that's the biggest thing. So, but, as far as film watching them, well, they only played a quarter, so we don't really know. So they're going to be salty. We know that, and they always are, and that's a kudos to those guys over there.
Now, I know, we had talked, and you've got more kids on the roster this year. Are you finding some of these kids to start stepping up? Are you creating some depth? What's that looking like for your ball club?
That's where we were starting to, the first week we felt we'd rotate 18 guys and wouldn't fall off the edge of the world too much. But I think we found out that maybe we're more down to like 13. So after week 1, but, it's like I told them, they might have had the discard there at the bottom of the pile now, but they got to work their way back up to get dealt again. So we need to make sure that, that just even mental reps when you're watching and practice and things like that. But it's a physical game and you got to hit. I mean, and you can't just, you can't stand and wait, let things happen. And I think we did too much spectating on Friday night. And, Lord knows that's not going to be good if we do that this Friday.
What areas do you look to kind of to improve on? Where do you got to get better at here moving into week 2?
Well, it's, obviously defensively, we got to be more physical. We got to be assignment free or assignment sound just because of the, we got shut down the dive quarterback pitch stuff. So, I mean, they're, overall, everybody screwed up. I mean, I even did, and that's hard to believe, right? But no, there's just so many, that week 1, there's so many things, and a lot of it all depends on who you're playing to. And that team you're playing crossover week 1's a little saltier than the ones some are, and they're going to exploit a lot of your weaknesses. And we just got to tackle and block and play football the right way.
Are you healthy right now?
We are. So there's a little dings and bruises here and there, but for the most part, we're healthy and we'll have everybody on the field, and, we'll show up and see what happens.
I'm sure, you go back to the playoffs last year. I'm sure that kind of still sticks in your kids' minds. I mean, a lot of these kids were on that team, and a heartbreaking loss. So I'm sure, in some facet, they probably still have that in the back of their mind thinking about that.
And, and that's true. And we talk about always that defensive performance is what we want week 1, not week 9, week 10, and you want to get better as the year goes on. Don't get me wrong, but it sure be nice to start at that week 1. But they played their tails off, and it was a barn burner, come down to a field goal, and, and that's the way it should be, playoff football. But they get that, so, I mean, we're not going to obviously put our tail between our legs and roll over for them. We try not. Our kids, they do a pretty good job about that. But then again, we know it's a new year, new team, and they're going to become ready to go. But we just got to bring our A game, and we'll be fine.
Well, Darrin, we'll have the broadcast call coming up on Friday night, so we'll look forward to seeing your kids in action again. Look forward to talking with you. Appreciate the time, and best of luck here coming up on Friday night.
All right, thank you much. Appreciate it.
You bet. Darrin Byklum, head coach of the Polk County West Thunder, joining us here on our Your Live Event Coaches Show.
There's more at 104. Hillsboro, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsboro and see why there's more at 104.
Sharing our heritage, sharing our future. Choosing the right bank for your financial needs can be challenging with the many choices available. Dakota Heritage Bank is pleased you're interested in knowing more about what they can do for you. The Dakota Heritage Bank community bank setting is a strong advantage they have over larger, less personal banks. Customers are more than account numbers, they are friends and neighbors. Working together, Dakota Heritage Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
As we continue on our post-game show here tonight for the Grafton Smelders, again, the head coach, that is Nicole Warren. For those of you that are just joining us, 25-14, 25-22, and 25-21. Nicole, we were talking in the pregame. You wanted to see really good serves. You wanted to see really good passes. Well, I think the first set, that was check and check, especially going to the service line early there with Peyton Ziegelman. She just kind of got in a rhythm, got you guys up 8-0. What did you see just from the shoot from your club here tonight?
I think those veteran players that we talked about in the pregame did a really good job of just leading those, rookies that are on the floor for the first time. So, first set was a great start, that's for sure. We were a little rocky in the next two, but Kindred, wow, they very scrappy team, and made you earn every point, and that's the kind of games we want to play in every night. So
as you go from there, let's talk about Molly Bjornaby, your player of the game, double-digit, kills here tonight, a senior. You talked about that you're going to have to rely on 3 of those varsity returners. She was kind of there when you needed a point or need something good to happen. What did you see from Molly's play tonight?
Yeah, she's a 6 rotation player. She did a really good job of stepping up when she just knew I need to put this ball in and keep it in play. And she's done a lot of work in the off season, and it's definitely showing. And she did a really great job of leading tonight.
And there was one play where she literally stole a point. She's right in front of your guys' bench, just trying to get it over on the third. Not sure if it's going to go over the net, if it's going to hit the post. When you see plays like that happen, just hustle plays, what does that do for a club, especially from a senior leader?
It definitely pulls the momentum. Volleyball's it's a game of runs, and she did a really good job of just laying it all out there, and her teammates, I think it really amped them up and helped us finish the set there.
And then you also had Annalise here tonight, me on the outside. Again, big, heavy swing, a southpaw. If you're not used to that as a blocker, sometimes it can maybe take you a little bit, but she was pretty much on point from the jump here this evening.
Another one that worked a lot in the off season and wanted to play that outside role. She's playing 6 rotations, and she just does a really good job of knowing when, I probably shouldn't have done that, and then gets the ball again and does a good job. She puts the ball away when she needs to. So
Emma LeClaire, what did you just kind of see from her at the libero spot? I know she got taken out a little bit, kind of had to get maybe a little bit of an elbow checked out, yes. But for the most part, from our libero spot, what did you kind of just see from her in the back row tonight?
She was actually a setter for us on JV last year, and she just does a really good job of being solid, and nothing really seems to phase her too much. And if she does do something or she's out of place, she is such a coachable kid that you can tell her and she does it the next time. So she did a great job tonight.
Let's talk about the rest of the week here. It's busy. Thursday, then volley in the Valley in Castleton, Drayton Valley, Edinburgh, a Region 2 opponent coming up on Thursday. So what do you want to see from match number 1, so to speak, into match 2 48 hours from now before you get a lot of volleyball in on Saturday in Castleton?
A lot more with our serve and pass. I think we could have cleaned up some of our passing a little bit, but also just hustle plays, like not giving up on balls when we feel like we're not going to get to them. And I think with a lot more, we'll have a lot more practice this week, so we'll get it. And it'll be fun.
Last thing, I know it's still early, but is there a trait or is there something that you can kind of pinpoint on this team that you like so far from practices, from what you've seen on a road trip to Kindred, the C Squad, JV, varsity now? Is there a trait or two that you like early in the season about this club, Nicole?
I think we have some really good senior leaders, and whether they're on the court or on the bench or they're sitting watching the C Squad, they do a really good job of just being aware of what we need. We need to go and help with warm-ups, or we need to make sure this player knows where to go. So I think if we can have some followers that follow what they are wanting for this squad, I think we're going to have a good recipe at the end of the season.
Nicole, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us in the pregame and postgame, and best of luck moving forward throughout the rest of the year.
Thank you so much for having me.
That again, Coach Warren here for the Grafton Spoilers. Put a bow on this one when we return.
Step right up here, Coach Trautman. Thanks for joining us here. We appreciate it. And, wow, congratulations on the nice win, getting that win 1-0 on the season, right?
Yeah, it feels good.
Especially over the Hornets, right? That old rivalry, Carrington and Harvey Wells County.
Yeah.
Just many years of rivalry.
Yes, and it's always a battle with them. So I think we're really proud of the way we played tonight.
Yep. How about, let's talk about some of the players. Cadence Van Ray showing some power out there tonight.
Yeah, Cadence is such a strong, versatile athlete, and I think she's really starting to tap into that and what her options can be, and she's really kind of blossoming and becoming more confident. So it was really nice to see her, get some big kills tonight.
And Mercedes there, too. I had her down for, I think, unofficially 7 kills tonight, so she had a nice night, too.
Yeah, Sadie is just a hard worker, and like I said, it's such a great moment for me to get to see the girls rewarded with those kills and kind of boost their confidence every time they swing.
Defense, some stuff blocks there by Eden Hornet.
Yeah.
Good job tonight.
Yeah, both of our middles are so strong in that position, and we base a lot of our defense off of them, and we really rely on them. And obviously, Eden just showed that, she can do what it takes up at the net.
Now, what are you going to do for tomorrow? Practice the next 2 days. So I guess one day tomorrow, and then you got to go to Thompson. So what do you got to practice tomorrow to beat those Tommies?
Thompson is always a battle. They're so fundamentally sound. They're like us, we always want to be in attack mode, and I think that's the case for them. And I think the girls really boosted their confidence tonight, and we just got to be that. We got to be confident going in there, and they just got to trust and believe in themselves and their teammates.
It's the first time you've joined us here, so let's talk about maybe some top teams in District 5 and Region 3. Who's some top teams, in District 5 this year?
Oh gosh, I think we always pride ourselves on having a strong district and a strong region, and I mean, you just never know. When you get to tournament time, you never know. I mean, we've had such crazy battles with Oaks, with Linton, with LaMoure, just everybody. They're so strong. And obviously, there's a lot to work on at this stage in the game. And then everybody wants to be playing their best volleyball in November. So you don't know. You never know.
Yeah, Region 3 historically has been, I think it always seems to contain at least 4, maybe 5 top teams in the state.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks, Coach Trautman, for joining us here, and good luck Thursday at Thompson.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jim, and along with Bernie, we're inviting R&J Broadcasting Incorporated listeners to join us on a tour of the Hawaiian Islands, February 22nd through March 3rd. The Big Island will be part of this trip while taking in the breathtaking views of Oahu, the Big Island, and Maui. Enjoy the perfect balance between scheduled activities mixed with personal leisure time. Visit holidayvacations.com, keyword RJ to learn more about this tour, or call 888-557-1020 for a free brochure.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Visit with Ryan Opdahl, your local Farmers Union Insurance agent in Hillsboro.
And Katie, congratulations on the win.
Thanks.
I think you said it best in the pregame interviews, our preseason interviews on our coaches' corners on KRJB, that your ladies needed to learn how to finish the game and finish strong. And I think that's probably what you were mentioning between the first and second set tonight.
Absolutely. It was great to see our girls come out, especially after losing that first set, just with the energy, able to make the adjustment that we did and just go out there and play. And like we said, finish. And that last set, that was a big thing, We missed 2 serves in a row, and I was like, oh, no, we can't do that. You can't do that against a team, especially Oak Grove, very good team, and we can't do that. They're going to take advantage of that, and they brought it close to the end, but we went and, finished it ourselves, so that was great to see.
Kind of walk me through, I feel like your team showed a lot of great things of what could be in this season by all the different players that had their moments. Of course, Abigail Anderson, a sophomore, kind of a coming-out party tonight. She could have been our player of the game tonight. She was in contention. Sadie Gallagher having an excellent third set. Haley Smelden was our player of the game, complete game. Carsey Hattlestead had a great fourth set. I could go on and on and on about all the players' different contributions.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a team effort tonight, and each player kind of they kind of led their own way in different sets. Like you said, it took Sadie and Carsey a little bit to warm up, but it was great to see them come out and go up and still swing aggressive and find those spots that made it work for them instead of sit back and just let the rest of the team do it. They were like, I want to be a part of this. I'm going to make sure that we go and adjust. And so it was great to see them not give up. Like you said, Haley, Abigail, from the get-go, they were strong for us in that front row. They kept us in the games for most of the match. And Kailee Kittelson in the back row, and Kennedy Olsen in that right front. She just does such a great job in those tips and picking those up. She just comes out of nowhere. But Kailee, we rely on her a little too much. Some of the girls, you see them step back. I'm like, you made her run 20 feet. Next time you could step 2. But she just does such a phenomenal job back there. And tonight, that was a huge part of our win.
This was a pretty electric crowd. You maybe hear the drum in the background. We brought the Skull chant in tonight, and that seemed to really help, especially when your team needed it the most.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. Last year we had to wait for a home match till late in September. We got to host one here right away, especially during homecoming week. Girls took advantage of that. The crowd kept us going. We built energy on the court. They fed off of our energy, and it was just great to be home and then to get this win.
Let's talk about a couple of other things in this match. I don't believe I counted more than 2 or 3 service errors tonight. Both teams were really successful at that, especially your ladies tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Our girls have really been working on spot serving the last few days of practice and over at the tournament this past weekend. I mean, the Langdon game, that was a prime example of our serving kind of helped us win that one. They were able to place it in areas that maybe the team was struggling, or it allowed us to have that opportunity where they maybe couldn't come back as aggressive because we got in the way of some of their passers or their setter coming in. And that carried over. Set 2, they really started to take advantage from our service line against their serve receive, and I thought that was a huge component to tonight's game.
A couple other things to touch on here. I was really impressed, Kailee Kittelson's progression from junior to senior year, with technically speaking, just watching the shoulders. I don't think a casual player would ever think, I got to watch the opponent's shoulders to figure out what to do next. Do you feel like this senior group has kind of improved in that respect? They've just gotten smarter in the game from juniors to seniors?
Yeah, absolutely. They have. And we're still learning little things. There's many different things to the game of volleyball. And I told them, I said, after high school, I think I learned even more. And I didn't think I could learn more, in college. And so you just continue to grow, continue to ask questions. We talk about different scenarios all the time where what would help us in that scenario, especially out of system or even in system. What is the best hit coming off a net? Just those little things and gaining that knowledge. They want that. And they soak that information up. So any little thing that we can take. And I feel like with experience, they've grown so much, and it's great to have them, for one more year.
We're getting choked up. It's game number 1.
No.
Still a long ways to go.
Far. We're good.
And the journey continues against Hatton Northwood. They come here on Monday. Your thoughts on the Thunder?
Yeah, we got to be ready. We got to be ready to play them. I know they graduated a lot last year, but they have a crew that we saw at the scrimmage, and they were scrappy. They picked up the ball. They didn't let many balls drop. So we got to make sure that we come out and play our game, control the things that we can on our side. I thought, thinking about tonight, we capitalized on Oak Grove's errors when they made them, but then we also went and earned multiple points, and we got to go do that against Hatton Northwood. We can't sit back and wait for them to give us the win or give us points. We've got to go and earn it ourselves.
Katie, any final improvements from tonight to the next games? Anything else you want to mention here on the post game?
No, now we get 3 days in the gym again, get better, and then we got a 3-game week next week. So we're excited. The girls are probably on a high tonight. Hopefully we get into the gym tomorrow and get back to work.
Head coach Katie Staebler joining us here in our post-game interviews tonight, presented by Dakota Heritage Bank. Katie, congratulations. Enjoy this one. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you on Monday night.
Yeah, thank you.
We're back for more of the post-game next on YourLiveEvent.com. Coming back here on our post-game report, let's go right to our Enbridge Energy player of the game. At Enbridge Life Takes Energy, Enbridge.com for great opportunities. Haley Smelden. Haley, you played out of your mind tonight with kills, with blocks, with aces, with digs. I have a feeling that this is exactly the game that you ladies needed to start this season off strong.
Yes, we definitely did. And, practice, working hard practice is definitely showed off tonight. And, yeah, we just didn't give up.
I'm speechless, too. After the first set, of course, the ladies were trailing. Kind of what was Coach Staebler talking to you ladies in the huddle?
We got to be ready, be on our toes, find their hitters and stick with their hitters, and yeah.
Katie told me throughout the many interviews we've done in the preseason that you ladies needed to continue to improve on finishing games, finishing matches, and I think mission accomplished.
Yes, definitely.
Haley, this big win, homecoming week, on a short week, how important is this win to get things started in your rest of your season, especially as region play comes up here next week?
Very important. Coming off with the first game win at home, too, just really gets us going, I think.
Of course, got a chance to share the floor on your homecoming week with your fellow seniors. What does it mean to you to start this season off and what could be a magical run?
It's amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better game tonight.
It's Haley Smelden, our Enbridge Energy player of the game. Thanks, Haley. Go enjoy this one now.
Thank you. And
let's bring in here Kailee Kittelson. And Kailee, second time we've got a chance to catch up with you today. First being the homecoming queen, and secondly getting a win. Yes. What's better?
I would say the win.
What did it take to get to the win, especially after dropping the first set against Oak Grove?
A lot of energy. I mean, the chemistry we have on the team is just unbeatable. We all played together since we were little, so we bring that and then we bring it into the game.
It seems like you kind of figured them out after the first set. Was there any type of adjustment that you and the rest of your teammates made to make the game in your favor?
Shoulders are a big thing. When you're hitting, you can tell where they're going to hit by their shoulders, so we just have to watch our shoulders closely.
And you had a couple of balls come onto your shoulders there and a couple of acrobatic moves. What's been tell me about your journey from junior to senior, me watching you last year going all over the floor and this year doing much the same. What have you learned in that year span?
I just got to work my butt off. I mean, I'm libero for a reason. I got to be right there in half a second, so I just got to be there ready for anything.
That's Kailee Kittelson joining us. Kailee, quite a day. You probably need some sleep. Congratulations, yes. And enjoy the rest of your homecoming week.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to hold here.
That wraps up this week's edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Join us on next week's show. That'll be on Wednesday, September the 11th at 7 o'clock as we dive into more prep sports across the state of North Dakota and Minnesota. I'm Chase Miller. Thanks so much for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your week. And for more game action and a complete schedule, go to YourLiveEvent.com.